Hello, hello, and good afternoon, my friends. It is Friday and it is 5 minutes past 2, so I'm a little bit late, but I had to wrap up a few things first. And that means that I'm just working on getting the last few things here settled and ready for today's stream. Um, and yeah, hoping you're having a great day. Good morning, Revenant. Good morning. I hope it is lovely weather at your place in Vaco. Here, the sun is shining. It is a little bit chillier, but after all, I would say it's a reasonably still good, good day. Yes. So I have to admit that I've not done much since Wednesday. I barely had time to craft yesterday. I know. So I've done one more row since last. We are still working on the straps and decreasing, and me hoping I have enough yarn in this last skein, but we will have to see. It's gonna be that simple. Um, Ronan say we're about to get hammered. Oh yeah, you're like promised bad, miserable weather this weekend. Good morning, Megan. Revenant says it's so bad Ted Cruz had already fled the state. Oh my goodness, that does not sound the best. I yeah, and Susan is gonna be sad too. I frogged my progress on the cowl because it was rolling, and I decided I'm gonna start it differently, which should decrease rolling. I know. I only done 13 rounds, so it's not too bad. So I decided to frog it, wind it up again, and now I'm kind of like ready to go with it for reals. So that's another thing. We still have the ripnet beanie, but first of all, we are going to see if we can actually finish this Daisy Daze bag. So I'm just gonna see if I can find all of it. But yeah, so I decided to frog that part of the cowl because I feel, yeah, I just did it. Some of it was nice, but the starting wasn't nice, and it was like rolling funny. And I do understand why it's rolling, and maybe it's a flaw in the pattern, or maybe it needs some sort of blocking or ironing or ish. But I'm not really sure I would like to do that with 100% renewable, to be honest. Yeah, I'm gonna start with a rip knit round, and then so like knit purl, and then I'll do purl knit, and then I'll do knit purl ish, and then I'll do just the knit or stockinette because stockinette wants to roll, doesn't it? So yeah, I don't have any casted on for that now because it's all wound up and back into cake shape. Let's see, top section. Side section is what we are working on. Yes, 17 stitches, blah, blah, blah is what we have. And decrease 2 crochets 4 more times. So that's 5 in total. I need something to set lines with so I can actually do some half decent counting here. Because I've done 1 and I need 5. And I'm doing that for my own sanity, so I don't need to do too much counting afterwards. Good afternoon, Helle. Revenant says I'm like 500 yards into my corner to corner blanket. And it's working up wonderfully so far. That is great news. That is definitely great news. I am going to see if we can get into this working. So as you may see, we are still on the basic stream because no double screen, no any fancy name and so on. The computer has been ordered, but I got an email saying that delivery is delayed, which, yeah, well, they haven't shipped it yet, so obviously it's delayed. First, I had like said, oh, you'll be able to have it like Friday or something like that, or Saturday. But given I haven't received a shipping note yet, and it is now Friday, I can definitely figure out it's delayed. I do have a mail by the looks. Maybe. What? According to this, I didn't pay, which is not true. Well, sounds like I'll need to call them on Monday. Wonderful. Because I can't guarantee you that I made the transfer. So I would kindly ask them to move up the stuffs. I did what the customer supporter asked me to do. So, yeah, there's that. Wonderful. Sorry, my sarcasm. Not the nicest day. We are to turn this row around and stack a double, and then we are to decrease. But yeah, so we are still waiting um on my new computer so that we can get back into decent streaming world, I hope. I guess we will see because technically we don't know if it's a bug in that. But I was in any case needing a new computer, but I'm just waiting on it. And there is not much I can do about that for now, except be patient and wait. Let's see. According to this, I believe I only had two. I need to decrease to two on each side, and now I see it says treble, which means that we are in the English term. I need the US term of the pattern. Goody goody. Hello, Susan. Susan, I am afraid I have some bad news for you. Or for me. The Simply Yet Effective cowl, I frogged it actually and kicked it back up. And I need to cast it on again because I am going to make a deviation again from the pattern. Because it was constantly rolling on me, which I know stockinette does. So I'm gonna make a knit purl, and then a purl knit, and then a knit purl. So like alternating rib stitch. It probably has a fancy name in English, which I am not yet aware of because, well, knitting is still a new field for me. Um, and then hopefully it will roll a bit less because, yeah, well, stockinette does want to roll, and it is mainly stockinette. Either like, you do all the purl arounds, which is technically stockinette, and then you have the all um oh, what is it called? Um, all the knits, which is also stockinette, but just on the other side. Try knitting a bit looser. I feel I was pretty loose already, so I will make a minor edit to the pattern and use a tiny bit different stitch for the purl sections. And I have a feeling it will be just fine. Not really sure why I am marking the center, but I do. Um, so I need to cast them on again. So now the yarn is just caked up and ready to be cast on again, which ideally I will have done tonight because tomorrow my plans changed. And then, of course, obviously, I'm waiting on the computer part. And I had kind of hoped I would have it then like on Monday, but by the looks of it, it's not going to happen. I'm a little bit not happy with them saying that I didn't pay when I know I paid. The pearl rows balance out the stockinette rows. Yeah, but the problem is already on the first 13 stitches, it didn't balance one each other out. They were like just curling opposite, so it's just like one big rolling thing. So yeah, I don't know. So now I'm doing Yeah, I do a row where I will do rib knit, so to say, and then I do an alternate rib knit. So it's gonna be like knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and then it's gonna be purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, and then it's gonna be knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. That should also balance it out. I might still have a photo from before I frocked it at 13 rows. Yeah, I do. It, it kept rolling both ways, basically. Um, and my first row of pearls seemed extremely loose compared to the rest. Wait, so this is the last stitch. I need 1, 2, 3, so I have one more before it decrease. Roland says, well, I need to rip out a full row as I missed a stitch and I don't want a hole in this blanket. Oh, bummer. How many stitches do you think that is around? Helle is referring to that she is knitting. I do not know what she's knitting though. I'm sure she will tell us. Roland posted a pic. It is gorgeous though. Let me see if I can get to share this one. There we are. Here is the current progress of Revenant's blankets in corner to corner. I like the colors. It is though very much bummer you need to redo it, but I guess there's that. Meanwhile, I am turning this row. But yeah, it is gorgeous and a shame to frog. A whole row or just like back to the corner? Row and a half because you got to the point, maybe. I don't know. Ah, Hele is knitting on a sweater. I do believe it is a sweater for the daughter of my cousin. Back to where it's attached in the pic, actually. Oh my, I'm sorry to hear that. I think none of us really like to frog. Well, if you do, that would be crazy, right? um, but yeah, so I definitely need to not to frog, but to get that cast on. If I'd like to have it in the car when I'm going, and actually it would be great already for like because we are driving somewhere also tomorrow. Well, we're driving two places tomorrow, so I'll be extra in the car than I had originally planned. Because I made myself an appointment tomorrow. um, but with a bit of luck, I just can jump into the car and go with. Um, but yeah, that's still a bit of a drive. So, you know, if I could have a project when I'm in the car, that would be nice, actually. So that is my current plans. I am going to have to cast on tonight when I'm home from the club. Do, 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 do. Meanwhile, I am. Oh, I see that I didn't even attach the corner in this end. Okay, cool. And the C2C stitch goes quick. Some people have problems with C2C, but it's always clicked with me. Well, I guess it's just a matter of if you find it simple or not. Some people also like puff stitches, others hate them. I like how they look, but I hate making them. Susan says, I prefer to correct mistakes. Some people leave them. I see mistakes. If I see a mistake, it bothers me no matter how far it's down, I'll fix it. Yeah, I know. That's a frocking aspect of life, huh? I will be the exact same. Um, should we remind ourselves about a year ago, I frocked 23 or was it 24 rows back on a shawl to fix a mistake because I had forgotten a chain too. No, that was not so funny. Oh, and I need to put a line. So it was one more decrease, 3 more to go. Um, Also, I had original plans to be live on Monday, but that is unfortunately not going to happen due to rescheduling and life outside of crocheting. But I hope you will be fine without. Yeah. I don't think I can see it there. No, I'll need to check that on the bank. Okay. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Revenant. Fred Eats Jan has just gotten a gifted membership. Let's see if I can actually find the. I can only do like sort of. This may be without audio. Let's see. Share screen. Who wants to do this? No, not that one. That one. We may not have audio, but we'll try. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, Fred eats yarn. Well, at least that is a high fiber diet for sure. There is no doubt about that. It has to be a super high diet of fibers. Ah. So yeah, I didn't get that much done since Wednesday, except that I frogged a project and spent time sorting stuff. I guess it's just I don't know if I'm just in a period where lots of real life things is expected from me, and henceforth I have a little bit less time to actually craft. I do hope. Wait a second. I need to decrease here. I really genuinely do hope that I am able to finish this one today. That would be really nice. That would be really nice. And then I can imagine we are looking in February towards. If it's gonna be February, I think we may be able to start in February on the hat collectors. At least once I'm back home. I do have some travels in February, um, and then after that, maybe we should be able to start it. That would be pretty nice actually. So that was 1, 2, 3 decreases. One more line. We need to do that twice more. I did. I did order yarn, and I have a feeling I might have found the solution. Um, so yeah, I had to increase my stash. Oh, what a shame. But I did so mindfully. Um, Not 100% decided, but I do believe that the decision is to be found in one of those yarns. But there's going to be a yarn haul video about it. Not on Monday, but next Monday. So in a bit more than in a week and a half from now. And then we'll have Sort My Stash edition also. And then in the same week we'll also do a yarn talk, I guess, where we are gonna talk about it. And yeah, I have the feeling I'm decided, but I'm not 100% sure that I'm going with the coral. Susan is laughing off me. It's the yarn we talked about earlier this week. I said it was okay. That was like the only purchase this year I was actually knowing that I was going to make. And given the amount of yarn that I bought in total, that is, um, I am likely to still be able to decrease my stash this year. Just saying. I am still rather optimistic on that account. Anyhow, this is in any case going smoothly. But yes, I understand why you are inclined to laugh of me buying yarn, because of course we can't help not buying yarn. Um, and yeah, it's not that much yarn. I should be able to use that all up. Well, maybe not the exact yarn that I bought, but looking at the amount of skein slash yardage that I got, yes, that is definitely going to be used in this year. I just try not to buy too much more than that. That is the challenge. Yarn dyes need a bit of indulgence every now and then you just, or then you just go completely off it. Yeah, or it's like, people are like, don't eat candy, but the thing is, if you don't get a little bit of sugar once in a while, then once you allow yourself to get sugar, you go completely mad. So it's better just to eat a little bit of sugar um, on a daily basis than it is to go raving mad on one day and consume a lot. At least that's my theory. So if you can limit your consumption um, to a minimum, while I did do that, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, that's single crochets. Um, then yeah, it wasn't too much. Could also look at it like that. Definitely seen worse. Um, I definitely have a few things that I need to work with onwards. Let's say so far it's working up nicely. It's just I just try to understand how they want this sewn together afterwards, and then being like, "Mm, yeah." Not completely sure I understand that concept. It would make more sense just to increase again on the other side. But the benefit, of course, of doing this is that if I'll run out of yarn, it's easier on the short stretches than the long stretches. So I guess I'm fine with that. This is me following the pattern. Then maybe I'll improve a pattern at some stage. Who knows? That wouldn't be the first time I've done that. Worked up the pattern once and then worked it up a second time, but made my fixes because I liked that better. Ta-ta. So as you can see, we're working up nicely here. And that was one more row of decreases. So that is one more line on my piece of paper. I just have like a post-it with notes. It's my row counter. Ronald says I'm 13 skein shoes to 6 bought so far this year, so I'm feeling good, which is better than what you like. Usually is better than what you bought, so that's good, definitely. That's an improvement. And Susan says I'm also making good progress using up my yarns, and I've emptied one full tote. Wow, already this year, or just in general since you started decreasing? Because a full tote in January alone is impressive. Knitting 2 strands together in hats works wonderful to use up yarn. For sure. That is definitely how I am using up some of these mill ends I have from ice. Also, I know that I am using them up this year. So this is some of the yarns that I'm just not going to stash on Ravelry. Also, I'm not really sure how to stack them on Ravelry because they're a bit out of number, so to say. they're deviating from the average gain. So I just don't want to waste my time on that. One tote in the past few months. That is still pretty good, I would say. So I've been preparing and going through um, the second episode of the Sort My Stash, and while doing that, I actually had an extra empty box, which made me able to shift around a bit. So now I have an empty box. So, but it has happened over the past year and a half. Though that said, I may use that empty box for some different, like I might store something a bit differently. Um, but it does give you this feeling, as you knew that box at some stage was full of yarn and it's not anymore, that you have definitely used some of it at some stage, if that makes any remote sense. Um, so I'm definitely using yarn. Um, I most definitely am. So that is definitely positive. I really need to get photos taken on some things which I haven't posted yet, either on my website, or I have a few things that I was thinking on maybe just going straight with on the Facebook Marketplace rather than on the website, to sell to locals. But I could also option to do both actually. Um, I've also been considering looking into free shipping um, at certain rates. Like if you purchase for X amount, that I'll be open to do like free shipping. Let's see. That is this one. Correct. Then here we are gonna do the decrease because I just did a bunch of single crochets. So there is definitely things happening in the sense of, but there is just also things I haven't gotten done. And a part of me thinking maybe I just need to take a day where I sort this. But right now, I don't seem to have these days because I end up going live with you guys, which is absolutely nice and cozy and so on. But I just technically need to pick something else for a minute. Maybe I can do that next week um, on one of the days. And I also have a different project that I have an idea for, but I'm not sure if it's going to work out. So before I'll say anything about it, I am going to see if I will succeed first. Um, Ronald says, Susan, are you prepped for this upcoming storm? I remember where you are at. You're going to get slammed come Sunday into Monday. Oh my goodness. I tried to keep my stash in plastic totes as I just vintage crochet to discover mice in her open box yarn storage. Oh my goodness. I should maybe put all of mine into plastic totes too. That said, I'm quite sure I don't have any mouse in the house. They're only outside. Billy's Craft Room, hello and welcome to this live. You absolutely may. Give me a second and I'll just insert a stitch marker for me to like not get lost. I am using this, it's 100% recycled cotton. It is from Hobbii in Denmark. So it is by We Love Yarn and it is 100% recycled cotton. So it's like, I think it's an Aran weight? Worsted weight? Aran weight? Like thicker than DK, but not much. So this is a label. Um, so it's 100% recycled color. There's a 50 grams in the skein, which is 1.75 ounces, or it's 75 meters, so about 82 yards. Yarn wise, except for the fact this is 100% recycled cotton. So they're taking all sorts of cotton fibers and they just recycle and spun it into new yarn. I think yarn spec wise, you would sit around if you're in the US, like peaches and cream would work up for this if you would like to make this bag on your own. The pattern for this bag is a free pattern. It is in the description box down below. Also, Drops has suggestions if you have access to drop yarns, which drop yarns you could use for them. At some stage, I was debating on using drop yarns, but this is what I happen to have in stock. If I make anyone in the future, I could maybe option to do it with the denim, the recycled Paris yarns. I think would be gorgeous as well. This is how we are looking currently. Ta-ta. You're in the UK, okay? Drops or Hobbies, but if you have access to drops, the pattern is on garnstudio.com. You can also on the pattern I link to. I use the US terms. If you want UK terms, there is a menu on the pattern where you can just click it over to UK terms, and then you have the UK terms for the crocheting. They suggest a drops Paris or drops linen something. I believe it is. Bamoulin or Paris. You could do both. It's more like an 8/8 cotton, um, thickness wise. You could also use Linda Hobbie's cotton 8/8. You could use Hobbies, either friends or whatnot, 8/8. But I get that you need to get it into the UK, so you have these import taxes, I guess. Um, that is my few tips, but it's turning out lovely, and you could probably also just make it in any good sturdy cotton you have. I would say this cotton is not a cotton I will normally use for clothing. It is a little bit rougher, so henceforth it's fine for bags. Um, and I think this is looking absolutely gorgeous, actually. And we are working on the straps, so hopefully we are having the straps on by today. That would be nice. Not so sure when I'm looking on the time, looking on the pace I have, but I'm dreaming. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. It's a reasonably simple pattern. For the granny squares, you do need to be able to read a diagram, but it is pretty simple. The drops are really nice at writing their diagrams out. Technically, I believe I did around, like, the center of the circle is 12 double crochets, and then the next color is 24 single crochets, though you worked in between the double crochet stitches. Then you go out to the next, which is treble crochets. 4 treble crochets work together every 2 stitches of the single crochets, and then you go out again, and it's half doubles, doubles and trebles, and some chains, and then the last round is single crochets around. So it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple, granny squares in it. At least I would personally think so. Um, so it's not been a project that's caused me much grievance. I think it's mainly all this sewing the squares together did take some time and stuff like that. So one can argue if a quicker project can be made because you wouldn't have to show that. But further than that, I think it's looking nice. I like it's a bit different from what I've made so far. Um, and what I'm exactly going to end up with the purpose for this bag, I don't know yet. That is me being fairly honest with reality of things, because I honestly don't. I do not yet have plans for this particular bag. I have been considering I could also option to give it away, to gift it. Um, or I find somebody that would like it. I had a friend visiting us yesterday, or it's more like a club teammate, and I am going to bring something from her that she needs fixed with me to Germany this weekend, and she was very thankful. So she came by to deliver it because I wouldn't see her before then. And then she saw this and she was like, "Oh my goodness, that is gorgeous." And I don't have those skills. So who knows? Maybe she'll end up getting it. That is not yet decided what will happen with it. But here we are. I am cracking along. Lisa! Wonderful to see you. Good morning, Lisa. I guess you're still in Mexico. Meanwhile, Billy's craft room is asking if I will add a cotton fabric lining to protect the stitches long term. That wasn't actually my thinking, but I'm sure you could add inside. I am not gonna do so. You could add a lining, but I'm not gonna add lining. Last time I added a lining was for this pouch. It's also made in cotton and is keeping all my notions, including scissors and measuring tapes and stuff like that. And that is added with a cotton lining. Um, and I can tell you one thing: I am not gonna do that in my hand because this is all hand sewn. I don't have a sewing machine, so I don't think I'm going to line anything before I have a sewing machine. Like again, probably not anytime soon. Maybe when I'm old and I have plenty of time and I don't need to work, or my boss pays me more, that I can work less. Um, I do have a part-time job next to this, just to be clear, and I am pretty happy with that actually. It's a nice job in the sense of would I want to keep working if I didn't have to? Probably not. But do I like the work I do now when I have to work? Yeah, it's okay. It's an okay job. It's a pretty good job compared to the jobs I've had. So I would lie if I said I wasn't happy there. So did I do 5 already? 1, 2, 3. No, I did 4, didn't I? No, 5. Wait a second. I need to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did 5. I just didn't set a line. That's because we're talking about patterns. Lisa says, I'm still in Mexico. Last working day. Tomorrow we go to the coast for a few days. Enjoy the coast. I hope the weather there is decent. Billy say, I hear you. I hated mom's sewing machine and I made bathroom curtains by hand. Not got the dexterity these days. Well, the thought of just hand sewing one more piece is like, nah. I think I would be okay hand sewing it into the project itself, but the idea of needing to hand sew a new piece is not that enticing to me right now. I would definitely need a sewing machine, and a better craft room would probably be nice in that case, which would require me to clean up my room by quite a bit. Probably throw out a bunch. I just need an extra room. Anyone has a new house with an extra room I can have, not buy? It's so expensive here in the Netherlands to get a new house. You don't want to know. Okay, we got to the blah 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 on each side. Then decrease 1 double crochet each row of the last on each row. Double crochet 3 times on each side. Blah. Then decrease 1 double crochet on each row of double crochets 3 times on each side. Okay, that sense. So we need to decrease 8 more stitches. That's gonna be thin. Okay. That is decrease tip. Beginning of row, 1 double crochet, then 2 double crochets together, blah blah blah. End of row. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Okay, that's easy. That's easy. Should be easy. Okay. So I just got here, so I need to turn. We need to turn around the work. Here we go. Ah, la 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 la. The weather for Tihocan, Tihocan. Jeez, I can't pronounce this place in Mexico. I'm sorry, I'll slot it every time. It's sunny with a temperature of 52 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 11 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from north at 3 miles per hour. Current humidity is 71. The weather in New Jersey is sunny with a temperature of 29 degrees Fahrenheit. The wind is blowing from west at 5 miles per hour. Ooh, chilly. Current humidity is 49. And I'm sure it's, my goodness, I do not want to be in Winkler right now. Lisa, I don't blame you for being away in January and February every year. Weather for Winkler conditions are fair with a temperature of negative 121 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 29 degrees negative. Jesus. I just froze my ass off, like genuinely. That's crazy. The weather in Waco is cloudy with a temperature of 55 degrees Fahrenheit or 12 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from northeast at 5 miles per hour. Current humidity is 99. That sounds like it's gonna rain, mate. Um, yeah, let's just check how that is here in Nijmegen, or not Nijmegen, but close to Nijmegen is where I live. But Nijmegen is a nice city to use for this. And the weather here is 45 degrees Fahrenheit, so about 7 degrees Celsius, blowing from east at 10 miles per hour. The current humidity is 69, and it's cloudy, which is probably true. The sun was shining. I still see here and there a bit of sun, but it's a bit cloudy. Yeah. Billy is asking, may I ask if anyone has tips for keeping yarn in shape, even though I use a winder for some reason they seem to collapse? Is that normal? You mean that you caked it up? Um, ta-ta. Like, um, well, that ended up on the floor. Like this is a cake, for example. So you caked it up. It will collapse if you send a pull. And if you don't send a pull, you should have a spindle. And I am just going to see if I can find that. Meanwhile, I am going to pick up everything that I decided to drop on the ground. The option is a yarn spindle. So you would place your cake in the center on it, basically. And then when you pull the yarn, it will spin around like this. That's when you take it from the outside of the cake. So if you take from the outside, you will only have a little bit of in the center that sometimes can be a bit tangly. But generally, if you have a nice yarn spindle, then it should be fine. Especially if you work with cake yarn, like the gradient cake yarns from Hobbii, Sultan, like Cotton King Sultan, Cotton King Sultan Locks, Hobbii Twisters, etc. They will also give you a nice spindle to it. I have ended my strand here. This is my starting end if I would like to work on the outside. And this is for a shrug that I'm going to make myself in the waffle stitch, which I haven't started on, but I just caked up one. I still have like 6 skeins I need to cake up. But I'm not going to keep this one on my yarn spindle until I actually start the project. If I'd want to, I could instead also, it also works with skeins, except at some stage skeins will tend to go a bit loose, and it also depends on the skein. The skein is pretty tight or dense, so this will work. So to give you an idea, basically just pull yarn and it will automatically unravel from the skein. That is a nice way to do them from the outsides. Okay, where were I? I was just turning my work around and stacking double. Rose says, I keep my yarn cakes on the side, which helps not to collapse. Some of the ladies at my stitch group put the cakes in old stockings, which help. Also a possibility. Or you can put them in a bowl or like a salad bowl or salad cup or something like that, which is just about big enough to hold the size of it. That also helps. When you get to the very end, there's always a bit of collapse, but it's better than the skin going flat. Susan, I have to laugh with you. You're the one telling me to shop my stash, and now you're being like, Day just put up her hand-dyed mystery yarn. I'm so tempted to get some, which I don't blame you at all for, but I'm just saying, shop your stash because, Billy says, thank you so much. That's really helpful. I ended up making a box for each one to try to keep it together. Okay. Hella says, in case you take the thread from the inside, so you do the center pull from the cake, when it starts to form a little bit of a gap, you can also put a glass or something cylindrical, which is fitting in there to help keeping it for collapsing. That's also an option. It could be a glass or whatever you would think, but something preferably that you're not going to use anytime soon because it might be stuck there for a bit. And Lisa says she's using a spindle exactly like mine. It is also a very nice spindle, so I don't blame you. I have 2 or 3 spindles, I think. I have 3. So I have a double spindle, which is for the bigger cakes because that was a 3.5-ounce cake, which is like 100 grams. It's not gonna work with 2 on because it's just not. There's just not enough room. And sometimes some yarns which I've held double for knitting, I've had them both on 2 separate spindles next to one another at the same time. Revenant is sharing what he's doing, so I'm just gonna see if I can share my screen shortly. Give me a moment. Uh, this is what Revenant is doing. So he puts it flat in a bowl, basically, on the cake, and do the center pull. That is this gorgeous yarn you're working with. It is gorgeous, I have to say. I love these colors. It's like, and this with the white kind of heathered feeling to it. I like it. Yeah, Susan, I get you. She says, I love Mr. Yarn, but I don't need more yarn. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Shop your stash because you're telling me to. And from here on out, I will definitely try to shop my stash with few exceptions. I've been really tempted a couple of times. And the plan is to shop my stash for the rest of the year unless there is something I need for a specific project or I'm being requested for a specific project, etc. But generally, the goal right now for me is to definitely use up more of my stash. Um, Billy says good plans, and Susan says good tip. Hello, indeed. I think it's a great tip. Definitely worthwhile trying. It's also a bit different what each of us prefer. Um, we are. It's like there's a whole. It's a whole um, a belief or faith or whatever you consider religion. How to hold your crochet hook. I'm a knife holder, which means that I basically hold it as if I would have a knife in my right hand, or cutlery, so to say. So that's a knife hold. Then you have people that's basically holding it like a pencil. And I have tried, and this just feels like it's so much extra work for me to do that navigation in my wrist or in my fingers that I always, every time I try, end up reverting back to the knife because I can work faster like this. Um, So that is, we are all different. As long as the same result is achieved, it doesn't really matter how you do it. And that is what I do like about this craft, right? Like, there's nothing which is perfect. We just, yeah. Let's see, that was one more decrease. And then I think I should have three of those, and that should probably fit. So then I should have like what, 12 stitches here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I do. Oh my goodness. It's actually my numbers match. Ah. With the exception of the other side, we need to do an extra decrease in the beginning, but we should be fine. But right now my numbers are matching. Isn't that just hot? Oh, the small pleasures in life, such as your numbers match, your stitches are correct. Years ago, I made a shawl with Wendy Supremum cotton. It held the stitch definitions wonderfully and also gave the shawl some weight. Oh, that sounds nice. Agreed, Reverend. He says the yarn almost has a tie-dyed look. It definitely does. The yarn is red hot, bitty stripes in the crayon box. It's just a shame Red Heart is on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. Meanwhile, I was ranting so much about this yellow haired guy you have in your administration about the tariffs and so on. Apparently, I don't know what happened over the weekend or over the past few days, but they have been talking a bit back and forth, and apparently those tariffs are not going to go through regardless. Yeah, and also, at the same time, just to mental into it, Putin started to say, "Yeah, I think it's fair if US should buy Greenland. There's a precedent that they previously bought islands from Denmark. I suggest it's worth $250 million." I was like, "What?" He has nothing to say about that. Like, oh my goodness, global politics are crazy these days. Um, I guess the positive part is still no import tariffs on stuff out the US for me to purchase. Shipping fee is just insanely high, and I need to consume some yarn. I should not buy yarn. I need to use yarn. Taco happened again. Yes. Totally true. 250 million is the price of a beach house, so yeah. Susan says, I'm working on a cake of merino silk yarn and it's not collapsing. If the cake is wound with good tension, it shouldn't collapse until you're almost finished with it. That's to some extent also true. I've had different experiences with my cakes as if they wanted to collapse or not. Um, but I try to keep tension on the yarn when I'm winding it into cakes. Billy's Craft says, I like the Aboriginal philosophy acknowledging that any generation is not the owner but the custodian of for the next generation. True, true. I think that's a really, really nice, good, and good way of seeing things. And I also think that it's definitely something which the Inuit people might view also. Greenland has indeed various different histories from before the end of dawn. Um, but I still really much like um, what the Danish foreign minister said, and that it was a statement he made after he went to Washington to talk with J.D. Vance and whatever other Secretary of State there was over there. And that's basically you can trade with people, but you don't trade people. I really like that statement. It's a good statement. It's definitely a topic that's quite visited also in Denmark these days. Yeah. Um, we are passionate, and the Greenlandic people don't want to be American either. Not saying there's anything wrong with America or something like that, but they don't want to be Americans. Um, and that's probably also partially related to healthcare security and stuff like that. Denmark definitely has some benefits that the US don't. Da, da, da. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We're really getting there, aren't we? Haha. Mm-mm-mm. Which means that we'll put it on the other side, and then I'm just gonna crank out either until I reach the desired length or until I have no more yarn. Off to watch a different screen where I can't comment, but I'll see you another day. Well, it was most pleasure to meet you and have you say a few words in here. I wish you a great day and happy crafting until we meet again, either in another video or here on live. Revan says, as American, there is definitely something wrong with America these days. Yeah, well, I think it's the fundamental part of the administration, right? Not so much like the American people are suffering as everyone. It's not the fault of the people. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, it's just a mess. That's what it is. Genuinely, it is a mess. I get it. That's what I wanted to do. Do, 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 do. Thank you. Don't forget to hydrate, people. I have my tea with me. Mm, that's a long time ago. It's a black tea infused with mango flavor. So it's a black fruit tea for those curious. Also, there are coffee in the corner if you should want a cup of coffee. More than happy to share my hot drinks with you. And I see we have a few people, others here in the stream. And if you haven't said hello yet, do come and say hello and wave. You know, don't be scared. We do not bite. We are more than happy to say hello. Such a nice group of people in here. And we are actually almost done where I can cut the yarn and weave this end in. And then we're going to go to the other side and have to do something similar. So what we're doing now is this is the last decrease. And let's see, that's a stitch. So I need to go in here with a normal and then I decrease. And then we are cutting the yarn and weaving in those ends. And we will have to go onto the other side and we will have to work up the strap. But this apparently is the place where we're going to sew those straps together. So, okay. Again, as I said, we're just following the pattern here. So that is decrease 2, 4, 6. Sorry, 2, 4, 6, 8. Matching, and then a row of doubles. Yes, like the stream. Please, if you haven't given the stream a like yet, please give the stream a like because we might get more friends. We might get more Yarny friends. And getting more Yarny friends is a positive thing because we can all help one another and we can learn from one another. So please, please, please give the stream a like. It costs you absolutely nothing. It is free to do. It is just a little click on the thumbs up button. There you go. This was how it's looking. Let's just before I'll even answer. But technically, this is where we are at. So this, my friends, is decreasing for the strap from both sides. It's the side of the whole bag, so it's gonna be like this, right? So the strap goes over, and it's 8 stitches wide after we decreased from 34. So that's a fair bit. I need to find my darning needle and my scissors. Of course, what we're gonna do is, and that is me following the pattern. Um, Personally, I might have done it differently, but since I'm not 100% sure about the amount of yarn I have, and I only have, this is what I have left. Once this yarn is gone, there's like no yarn left. Um, so I will follow the pattern, and the pattern is quite clear, being like, when you have done this side, la, 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 cut and fasten the strand. So basically, cut and weave off and sew in the ends here. Boom. Okay. Then it's side section 2, which is basically work the same way as the first side section, which is this piece that I just did. When finished, do not cut the strand. Insert a marker in the row and continue back and forth with alternate rows of single and double crochets until the strap measures 50 centimeters. That's about a little bit less than 20 inches, or to the desired length. Sew the strap on the other side of the bag with 1 stitch in each of the 8 stitches. So basically, I'll have an equal size and we'll like sew it together. And I could imagine me maybe using the mattress stitch again, which is what I've used here for sewing those tiles together. That would make good sense because that's kind of keeping the symmetry. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing. Have a great day, everyone. Gotta run. Have a nice day, Lisa. It was wonderful to see you, even if it just shortly. Do take care and have a great day. Ta-ta. Indeed. Adios. Ronan says not generated, but I saw the wildest thing the other day. The metal group Ski War did a cover of Chapel Rowan's Pink Pony Club on the AV Club YouTube channel. They did surprisingly good job. Nice. Nice. Sometimes things do surprise in a positive way. Ta-ta. Yeah. Let's see. This is on the inside, so it should probably keep it here. That would make good sense. Dun. Oh, come on. Be friendly to me, Jan. Behave. Meanwhile, of course, Nightbot is also reminding people to don't forget to hit like and maybe even subscribe if you like the stream. Mm. Will this last all the way to the end? Yeah, it should. So, end of wovenen. We do have one more end, so technically, if I'm clever, I do that already while we are at it, because it would be really awful to have forgotten this one, wouldn't it? Like, trying not to forget anything, that would be not so nice. Though I don't think I would, but you never know. Then on the other side, we will, as I said, we will have to do a single decrease in the center to get the right stitch count. Because we have, I think, 35 and not 34. But that was the only way we could get an equal amount of stitches on each side, because somewhere I had an extra stitch. So this is fixing as we go, which is something that I think most crocheters know how to do. If you can fix a project without frocking it and it's not gonna make a visible difference, I think we're all a fan of it. So just gotta cut the ends. Snip, snip. Ta-ta. We have the first side section here ready. And then we'll, maybe what I should do, I should count stitches to ensure that indeed I have the right amount of stitches before I just jump into it. This has been worked. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32. That matches. So another question is it indeed 35 as I remember here? I think so. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 5. It is. My goodness, I remember it correctly also. So we'll start on this side because that is how we work. We'll work this way around to work double crochets, which means we'll have to start in this stitch. Oh, we get some yarn again. We do have probably 2/3 of a skein, so we'll see how far we get. Maybe I'll indeed have enough yarn for it all. Then I'm happy. Would be awesome actually if I do. So that is where I will have to start. Let's see. Leaving a bit of a tail here to weave in. Then we need to crochet 3 together. Actually, I should have taken that with me. So maybe I should just redo that for a second. Because I can crochet a part of this tail in already as I go along, which means that less weaving in later, which we like. And then I said we'll have the decrease, so that is the decrease of 2. Or we do the double crochet but don't pull through, and we do that for another 2 stitches. That should leave us with 4 stitches on the hook, or 4, not 4 stitches, 4 loops on the hook. And then we should able to, just like this, yarn over and pull through, and we have decreased by a 2. So I am likely going to go down and weave in down there, just to secure tightness of that end. But maybe I'm slightly optimistic that we might reach it after all today. We'll see. If not, I'll definitely finish it before our next live. Which means that next week, Wednesday, when I'll be live again, because as I mentioned earlier this video, my plans changed for Monday, so I will not be able to go live on Monday. I'll need to figure out what we're going to do then. Should be fine though. Good. So here we'll need to decrease 2 stitches, which is why I had 2 center markers. Now I'll pull those out. Or we did decrease by 1, so to say. So we'll work 2 stitches together. Like that. Fixed. Now my stitch count should match again, all the way to the very end. So we are back at me putting lines for every row of decreases, so that I know exactly how far we got, but it should be reasonably easy. Bottom line is we keep decreasing until we have 8 stitches left, and then it's about working 8 stitches back and forth, which is going to be some really quick rows, but it's going nicely so far. I'm looking forward to see this bag with some content in it. Like we put something in it, books, laptop, what do I know, and see what it actually can hold. One, two, three. That was the first row. So we are gonna put a line down. Need 4 more decreases of these double decrease. Mhm. Single crochets all the way back on the wrong side. I may have to collect all my scraps of this. I do have multiple scraps still laying around of this recycled cotton and make a scrap bag. A scrap basket could also be an idea. Um, it's not like I have enough to make a full one yet, but I think I'm gonna make like a dedicated bag where I can put those scraps in. That would make sense. Because I think there is definitely only gonna be scraps left of this sandy one once I'm done. Oh, yeah, I want to get stuck on the finger. Meanwhile, it is 15:28, so 20 minutes past 3 here in the Netherlands. And we are chipping on nicely on the second side. I still feel slightly optimistic about the ability to maybe be able to have this one finished, or at least so finished that we are close to just having to sew these ends together. That would be so cool. Um, if I'll succeed is another story, but I feel optimistic about this project, and I'm definitely doing my best. I guess I was too optimistic when I thought I could finish it Wednesday, but there is nothing new in me being too optimistic because I am quite regularly too optimistic on my working speed when it comes to crochet. Here, I don't need to decrease in the center because I only had to decrease that single stitch. I had too many. So that I already did at the very first row. That seemed the most logic choice for me. And I don't think that single stitch is going to make a big visible difference on the final bag. Susan says, did I hear you say the strap is worked out from both sides and sewn at the top? Well, it's kind of technically sewn at the side because, see, I tied it and weaved in the end. In this case, it's a good thing because, as I said, this is the yarn I have left. I don't know how much strap yarn I have once I'm done decreasing. So I'm just going to work with until this skein is done, unless it reaches the right length before then. The benefit, of course, is when I get here, it's just 8 stitches back and forth, so that is gonna pick up some pace. So I'll decrease this side until I have like 8 stitches, and then I'll have to do a double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, single crochet until it's like about 20-ish inches. And then you sew those 8 stitches together on this side. I chose this side for the sewing together side because this is also the side where I have changed the rows. So there's a slight difference. There's already a little bit difference here where you can see here with the stitches when I turned the rows around. So that's why I thought, like, if I have to have a line where I'm sewing, I can just as well do that on that side. I do have some of the white yarns left if in case it's too short. Yes. So that could definitely also be an option, but not there. What I also could consider is making a row around, um, like, around each side of the bag, and then do that single crochets, and then do a row of slip stitches to kind of create an edge if you really wanted to do that. I could also consider that. I have about half a skein left of the white, um, which would probably work nice actually. Um, I am definitely contemplating that now when we're talking about it. I think that could be nice. So think about, I'm just gonna find my white, just a moment. It's in the bag next to me. So, ooh. Oh, and I do have a little bit of other yarn for sewing in ends. This is the amount of white I have left, which is really, really bright on the screen. So it's about the same as what I have left now of the cream. But what I could do is I could make a border around to kind of give it some strength and durability. Not a too bad idea. I will actually genuinely consider that. Susan says, thank you for sharing the construction details. More than welcome, more than happy to do so. It is reasonably simple constructed, though I would personally maybe, especially if I was sure I had enough yarn, have worked up the strap and then increased and then just sewn those 34 stitches on. But that is not what they're doing in this pattern, and I'm just following the pattern slavically. And then maybe I will, if I make this in the future, I don't know if I will, but maybe if I'll do, I would probably option to do it differently. No, we have to see 1, 2, 3. So 3 more stitches for the crease. Doo-doo-doo. But the choice for this path is definitely partially due to me not being sure how much yarn it takes to make the strap compared to the amount of yarns I have left. Um, I think I much more enjoyed. I really enjoyed making the summer shopper bag, which is also a bit like it's a round tote bag. Um, and I think if if I would make more, probably that's what I'd quicker make because it's quicker to make due to not having to sew these squares together. But I do like something different. Rowan asks, "I'm mishearing you, or is following Slavically a saying in Denmark?" Yeah, it's probably a saying in Danish saying. To follow something Slavically is like you're really following strictly the pattern. So we would say following Slavically, basically in Danish. Oh, I'm realizing how rude that saying is. At the same time, the language is spoken in Eastern Europe, like let's say in Romania or Bulgaria and those directions. It's also called a Slavic language. Don't ask me why, but meanwhile, we got one more decrease row done, so I'll just put a line down. So yeah, it's a Danish saying. I don't know if it's an English saying, but yes, you heard right. Doesn't mean that anybody is enslaved or something, but it is a very Danish saying to say to follow something Slavically. That's a challenge sometimes that things can get a bit too directly translated. But on the other hand, you also have words in Dutch which just cannot be translated. Like if it's pouring down rain, then in Dutch they would say, if you translate it directly into English, it's raining steel pipes. Think about that one. Which in the Danish term would be de stående stænger, but not completely the same translation, but it comes somewhat close. The English version would be following slavishly, which is not really en vogue these days. Yeah, maybe I'm old, like I'm old Danish, which is, by the way, I spoke with some junior athletes, I don't know, a year ago or something like that. And one of them just told me that I was like speaking old Danish. I was like, what? I'm speaking Danish. I'm just not doing the slangy things because obviously I don't speak Danish with the Danish slang in the sense of I don't live in Denmark. But that was a bit funny actually, being told that I was speaking old Danish. It's like, what? Ah, languages are fun like that. It definitely is. What I could do, um, just need to check I have the right amount of stitches here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6. I do. Um, the Danish language, School of Language for Danish Language, has some really nice translations, some very Danish phrases. I wonder if I actually have those laying. Maybe. Uh, some of them I do think should have somewhere. If I remember where I saved them, that's a challenge. Um, here's one of them. It's a bit fun one. Learning Danish, how to use vegetables in your daily Danish. You can in Danish say surt løg, which basically translates into sour onion. It means a grumpy or critical person. Yeah, that was one. Then we have go agurk. Go agurk is basically translated directly to English to go cucumber, which is basically our word for go bananas. Then we have ikke en bønne, which is translating to not a bee, which means absolutely nothing. Then you could say træde i spinaten, which is step in the spinach, which basically translates into do say or do something stupid. Then we have heldig kartoffel, which translates into a lucky potato, or in other words, a lucky person. Yeah. Then we have the salatfad. Mhm. Salatfad is a salad bowl, but in Danish that refers to the prisoner transportation vehicle. So let's say if you transport prisoners from the police station to the prison or between prisons, that's a salatfad. Um, let's see, I did single crochets here. Okay. Then you have gør kold på noget eller nogen, which means do cabbage on something or someone. Translates into deal with somebody or someone quickly. Then you have a hot potato in varm kartoffel, and that refers to a difficult situation, or basically a hot potato. Then you have klar ærterne. Klar ærterne is to handle the piece, or in other words, solve the problem. And then we have pisk eller gulerod, which is for me a new one, whip or cream, and that refers to motivated by punishment or reward. I'm not really sure what would be considered when like doing, let's say, 500 puff stitches. That's a punishment, but the reward is once you're done, it looks nice. Oh no, that was only two. I need three. Then you have hyppe sine egne kartofler, and that translates into um, earth one's own potatoes, which other translates to follow one's own interests. Then we have the last one, which is spille con gulerod, which is playing king carrot, and that translates into acting superior or be stuck up. Well, now you learned a few vegetable Danish terminologies, which you're probably gonna have forgotten a few, but there's a bit to laugh about if you want to consider funny sayings in Danish versus English. Susan finds it funny. You are very welcome. If that makes your day, I'm happy to find things like that. Revenant says there are some phrases in English that is actually based on rather nasty stereotypes like what a git meanings, what a ripoff I learned, referring to gypsies or the Romani people, and it's quite rude. Definitely agreed. That is technically kind of rude. I think the challenge is also that they got this, they were placed as a stereotype box, right? It's the same being like, um, when you're Danish, you're considered a Viking instantly, or what are you actually? Um, but technically speaking, I guess the Norwegians were more Vikings than the Danes. I definitely feel like a Viking in the sense of my temper. Um, but it's stereotyped at the same time. I'm the classic stereotype Danish because I do have blonde hair, right? So there are many aspects to that. It's funny, the Romani prejudices never really cross Atlantic as over here. It's not the knee jerk discrimination to them. That's nice for them, though. Well, any more any more reso than any any other non-WASP group in the US. Okay. The thing is, we are so much more busy with immigrants and foreigners these days than think about back just a couple of hundred years ago. It was a more natural thing to immigrate because you wanted to seek better opportunities for yourself and your family. And now, when people do the same, they're put into refugee camps and I don't know what. Um, but technically, it's not much different, right? Wasps is a white Anglo Saxon Protestant. Ah, I learned something today. Well, that would probably be close to me then. I should be a Protestant, even though I'm not really religious at all. Like, I don't go to church, but just like my partner's supposed to be a Catholic. He's doing just fine not going to church because he's not religious, but he was baptized as a Catholic. I think it was also more common in the Netherlands to be that religious back in the 70s, um, where in Denmark it's also more like a thing that's happening, but I really don't think, I don't know. My mom will have to correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't have the feeling that my parents were very in believing. I got baptized more because it was like a traditional thing to do, not necessarily because of the religion itself, if that makes sense. Like, not because they believed if I wouldn't get baptized, I would go to hell if I happened to die before I got baptized, just to say something extreme. I really highly doubt that my parents were thinking about that. That was one more row of decrease. We have two left before we go back to the single decreases. Hallelujah. People are people, man. Most just want to live their life in peace. Yeah, I think that is true. We all just want to enjoy ourselves and don't be too worried about our security and safety. And um, then you have the few oddballs in between who's greedy and want to have it all, right? But those aside, people generally just want to be in peace and just do their own thing. Most of the stuff that divides us is dumb. Who cares what color someone's skin is? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or how much bigger my house is than yours, or whatever. My house is like definitely not bigger than many people's here. Well, it is bigger than my parents, but that is also a tiny house. But it's a fine house, and it worked fine for years. But on Dutch terminology, we don't have a massively big house, but we definitely also don't have a small house. But compared to many US houses, I think it's a smaller house. Reasoning for this is that in the Netherlands, people tend to build up, not out, because we do not have that much mass, like ground space. We have the densest population in whole of Europe as a country. So housing is expensive here. Unless you go to Friesland, which is all the way up northern, which is like in the middle of nowhere. So that would be if you go to a lesser or a smaller state in the US where there's lots of space to your next neighbor, so to say. Yeah. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 2. My house is fairly small for the US standards, but there were only two of us, so it's big enough for us. That's the most important. And that goes the same here. Technically, our house is more than big enough for what we need. Um, it most definitely is. Um, yeah. It's fine size-wise. One, two, three. Fits, yeah. It's a single level ranch style house, and after coming from the top floor of walk up apartment building, it's nice having exactly two steps to get onto the porch and into the house. We have technically zero steps or one step to get in, ground level, but we have two levels on top. So we have the base level, then we have first and second floor. The second floor is our attic. Our attic is technically can be turned into a room if we want to, but it's more like storage for us, storage of various things, including yarn, including my partner's electronical stuff. But also it stores our laundry machine. I know this sounds crazy, but that's a Dutch thing. It stores our laundry machine and our freezer. Like it's a box freezer, so where basically you like open the lid and you go into the freezer. It's a small freezer, but it is a freezer, and I'm happy I have it because else I would only have the freezer of like 3 shelves in my kitchen, which is not very much if you want to get a few good sales. And we all know that if you see a good sale, you will definitely want to stock up or at least get enough rather than needing to buy it at normal price because everything has gotten so expensive everywhere. I'm sure it's not just the EU that meat prices has risen over the past couple of years. Yeah, chest freezer. That's probably what it is. Um, so I have a small one. It's like I think it's like 110 or 120 some odd liters, so it's not a big one. But we don't need a bigger one. When I started eating out of the freezer, so to say, so this summer I finally got time to defrost it, and until we got to the stage where I could defrost it, um, it took us still a couple of months to eat everything that was in the freezer. So just saying, it's big enough. And I've slowly been filling it up again with a few things. But I'm very happy that we got it defrosted last summer because it was desperately in need for the first time since we got it. And I think it's from 2011. So, Rowan says, lets me keep a decent amount of meat on hand. Makes the weekly trip mostly for the fresh vegetable and other perishables. Yeah, Well, not all my meat. Some of the meat I get fresh. I kind of look at what's on sale. If there's a good offer, I'll get that. If there isn't, I'll see what I have in the freezer. For the meat. And else it's mainly, as you say, groceries, dairies, and so on that I get when I do grocery shopping. Um, we also have a company card to, I guess it's a bit like, oh my goodness, what would that be called in the US? It's like a big exhibit show where you can only get in if you have a card through being, for example, a company. So it's like a wholesale ish. And sometimes when I get there, I made a stitch too many before the decrease. Um, Sometimes I would go there. For example, I would go there to get chicken breasts because per like you would have to buy a bigger amount, but the price per unit would be less. But you'll have to buy multiple units, so to say, compared to buying at the local store. So it's a bit like a Costco. Yeah, Costco's, yeah, similar probably to Costco. So I'll basically get that, and then I'll divide it into what I need. Like if I need it with chicken pieces, I'll cut up the chicken and put it into freezer bags already pre-cut. And then it's quickly to just pull out and defrost and then put into, let's say, a chicken curry or whatever you would have for dinner. And I personally think that works pretty okay. And especially sales on meat prices is not as common as it used to be here in the Netherlands. And I think it's because the prices has gone up so much. It's gone up by a lot lately. That was 4. We have one more of double decrease rows left. I get my boneless, skinless chicken breast from Sam's Club and I put it into individual vacuum seal bags. Yeah, it's kind of like similar. I also have some that I freeze down whole. But I generally tend to make them into smaller pieces. Hey, I don't need double crochet this rows. Let's just redo, please. Rewind, rewind and redo. There we are. Mucho better. I don't know if I'll have enough, but it's gonna be edgy edgy. We will see. Maybe it's gonna help because as we decrease, obviously less yarn is used every row, so that helps. That does help. Warning about snow. What? I hope it's not gonna be snowing. What's this now about? No. It could be tomorrow though, because tomorrow it's gonna be raining. They promised rain. Then we'll have the stack double. We are decreasing 2. Like that. Crank it all the way onto the other end. That's a good question. If this system going to cross Atlantic, it's more likely what we get usually comes from you guys' end, or it's coming from Arctic already. I actually don't know where this system is coming from. It tends to come from north, but I'll have a look. Oh, it say Russia. Oh, a nice little sort of stormy storm. Look, it's twirling right there, south of Ireland to the coast of England and Cornwall. You have France, we're up here. I don't know if that's what's coming in. Let's press and play. We get like a. Nah, I don't know. Some goes over, some comes back. It does not look like it's going to be super windy. It's just going to rain. But we are used to sometimes getting weather fronts from the Caribbean. like some of the really nasty storms from west actually traveled across the Atlantic to get to us. Meanwhile, it's gotten to be 4 p.m. here. I'm still chipping along, but I don't know if we will make it today. Maybe. Maybe. Let's see, that is this, so I need to decrease here. Another lady from Minnesota, they're looking at negative 29 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh my goodness, that's negative 33 degrees, 34 almost. I guess that's Arctic. You can question yourself why Trump wants Greenland with that weather. 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Two, 2, 4, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Oh, it's not a it's not a stitch. That's a stitch. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 fits. With a wind chill of negative 40. Well, no, thank you. I feel really bad, especially for people living there who may not have uh, the resources to keep their houses warm and nice and cozy. Or for that matter, homeless people. That would be horrible. It's generally not as cold here. And part of that is due to the fact that we live close to water. So we have the Gulf Stream keeping us warm. Doesn't mean it can't feel cold though. Most definitely can. Now we are down to decreasing by 1 for the stitches. So that is only working 2 double crochets together into 1. And we'll do that for 3 rows. And I should say 3 double crochet rows because we do have a row of single crochets across where I do not decrease or anything. Meanwhile, do not forget to hydrate, my friends. Hydration is super important. Let's see here. One more stitch, I think. Now that is turned over. Yeah, one more stitch. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah. Like that. And then we need to get into this tiny, tiny stitch at the beginning of the row. Ta-ta! That was a double crochets. One of them. So we're down to 12 stitches. Then soon we're down to 10. Then we're down to 8. And then it's just cracking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. With whatever yarn I have left. Gotten really good at turning my work by now. And I remember last year when I was making bags, at some stage when you get to the strap, it's just you just sit and flip the strap. You don't flip the whole bag around. We'll see what I get to when we get there. So far, I don't think the strap by any means is long enough to actually quote unquote twist. But we will also need to untwist it if we end up doing that. One more stitch. Then it's a decrease. Decrease done. And one last double crochet here. Then we have another row of single crochets. And once we have done that, it's one row more of decrease. And then, my friends, it's time to just crack on with the strap. Let's see how far we get. I just need to make sure I have enough yarn left to sew in the strap. Maybe we'll be fine actually looking on the yarn. Or it's going to be close. I'm not going to cry if I'm short an inch. Let's also not forget I did an extra row on the bottom of the bag with the feeling I had plenty of yarn. So if I'll end up being short an inch, I learned something. Again, for if I would like to do it in the future. If I'd like to recreate this one in the future. Who knows, maybe I would. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. A pattern so far, I think, has been simple. What's taking the longest is probably just really sewing the pieces together. It was nice that the granny squares were pretty quick to make and easy and simple, but sewing them together definitely took some time. I also think this bag could be really nice with lining of some kind or background of some kind behind here. But as I said, I would need a sewing machine to even entertain that thought. When would I get a sewing machine? I don't know. I don't even know when I would have time to learn that. Um, that's probably first going to be when I'm getting an old woman, or if I end up being unemployed at the end of this year, who knows? Because while I do have a job, the contract is technically expiring on the 30th of November. And if they don't renew my contract, then I'll still be unemployed again. And then what? I don't know. Um, we'll have to see. 2, 4, 6, 8. My friends, this is how much we have to go back and forth for 20 inches. And let's just for funsies measure how many rows do we expect to make? Inches on this side. So an inch is a bit less than 2 repeats. So a repeat is an inch and a half. So 3 inches is, I should have enough yarn for that, I think. Yeah. So this pattern says insert a stitch marker when you have basically done it. So basically what I'm going to have to do is once I get to the other end here, we'll have to insert a stitch marker, and from that is where we will need to do measuring of those 20 inches. But I feel I should have enough yarn to do it. And I have to admit, I do actually like the thought of making maybe a white border on this. Also because I do have the yarn for it. So, but if I'm going to do that, we're definitely not finishing today. 2, 4, 6, 8. So what I'll do is I'll just get this one started. Then it says insert a stitch marker. Ta-da. So from this stitch marker, we have to work 20 inches. So that's what we're going to do. Work 20 inches. So yeah, before I buy one, it could also be that, I don't know, I will imagine that, say my mom-in-law passes away, which she will do at some stage. She is a lovely woman. She's best, I would say she's reasonably healthy and fit. So that's not my biggest concern. And I think, what is she? She's gonna be 80, 88, 87, 18, 70, 79 this summer. 79. So while she does seem healthy, you could risk that she doesn't wake up one morning, and then I'll imagine I'll inherit hers if I haven't bought one before then. Um, because that said, I do believe it's useful to have a sewing machine. It's just not a use I've found yet. So I'll definitely get one at some stage in life. Um, it's just not what I've needed at the moment, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, it says 19 and 2/4 inches. But honestly, I think we also could, if it goes to be 21, we'll see. One thing is for sure, no matter what. We can still consider that like that would be a white border that goes all the way around on the top. And because it is white down here, it would work. It's a natural white, neutral white. It's not like white white, if I'm remembering right. I think it is. Yeah, it's neutral white, off white, I think it's called even. But it shows up very white on the screen. Which means this bag has roughly been 6 skeins, by the way. Now when I get to the end, 5 skeins of the sand color, which I'm working in right now. And if I'm not making a white border, half a skein of white, and I think we'll probably like half a skein to get around. That should be fine. 2, 4, 6, plus the 2 end stitches. We are almost actually at a length where we can just flip the work around for quicker work. It's also just 8 stitches across. So yeah, it could most definitely be really nice with a border. Um, but I'm not 100% sold. I would have to. I think I'll still have to sort of check how that will work up here on the side, because if I did, that would be like a row of single crochets and then a slip stitch row around. Um, and I don't know if I would have enough yarn for it. I think I would, based on stitch count. But let's first finish this one and sew it together. Then we can always decide if we think we have enough yarn to do a border. Downside of white is that it does go dusty over time, dirty, grimy, and it will over time as well. Oh my goodness. Thank you to whoever popped in and gave some more likes. Thank you so much. It is much appreciated. Thank you for your support. And if you have started watching the stream and you're still watching on, or if you have just joined, thank you for being here. And as I said, if you're rewatching the stream and you have gotten this far, thank you so much for your support. I do need to do something because it's getting rather warm here. Who would have thought I would think that? Because I'm always the chilly person. Um, But for once, it feels warm. Which is kind of crazy because it's not that warm. So yeah, I don't know if I'd like to do an edge. Maybe. Do, 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 do. We are back on the single crochets. But then technically, when I end on a row of single crochets, another row, I should end this one on double crochets to kind of keep the same sort of rhythm going, one would think. I do feel that adding an edge or a border would give it some sturdiness, though. So I guess that's what I do like, given the thought of a border, that it could give the whole bag some extra sturdiness on the strap. And then I'm realizing now, why did I actually leave in that end or there? I could have used that yarn to sew it together with. Duh. Oh well, it's too late. It's done. It sounds like typical me, this, right? Being like, oh, I could have. Yeah, I could indeed have, but I didn't. Have you also sometimes woven in ends you could actually have used to sew it together with? I bet I'm not the only one in that boat. So we are working up nicely. This is what we have left. What do we have now? 4 inches? 5, maybe? I don't know. Just for funsies. Let's see how far we got. 3.5, 4. So we still do have some way to go. It's fair to say there is not gonna be much yarn left on this skein once I'm done. It would also be rather short if we would just like put this one together like this. It would be like a shoulder bag, where you could just squeeze your arm in. Yeah. So we definitely need some more length added to it. And that was about 3.5 ish. So we are not even close. But I knew that we weren't close. I just wanted to see, funnily, how far would I need to still be going. Um, and we still have yarn. I just need to make sure that I end on a row of double crochets and that I have enough yarn to weave in the end and yeah, a little extra, so to say. Then we'll see how far we get on the inches. Maybe it's not as bad as it sounds like or it looks like. Probably like a third at best left of the cake or for the skein. That's what we have left for those curious. And we'll flip this one around. Yarn does keep stuck on my fingers today, which is a bit funny because it's not a lurex yarn. It's a standard classic cotton, which is more like a dishcloth cotton than a soft cotton. Four, 6, 8. We still have 8, so that's going good. Shouldn't also be that difficult to make 8 stitches. Four, 6, 8. We're back to the doubles. But I still think it's wise that we will be measuring once in a while as we go along here, because eventually it's going to have the right length. Yeah, I think putting a border on it, I'm not sure, to be honest, because it's going to be a different color. And I'm not sure if I can, if the stitch definition was going to be nice enough. Other times I've done it, it's been the same color as the project. I'm not too sure. This is just me untwangling the strap. It does tangle now, which isn't a surprise, obviously. So what we should probably do is after this row is complete, we should just for funsies measure how far we have gotten. I'm definitely optimistic that we will make the strap length now. Like, I feel reasonably safe on that. We are at 5 3/4 inches. Hmm. Mhm. Um, yeah. I've not even had that much time to watch series either the last past 2 days. So I guess I'll have to make a catch up at some stage. Hmm. So yeah, this is rather short work. 8 stitches back and forth. Could probably also have worked with 10, but then I would have needed more yarn. I need to untwist. I guess the good thing is that at least every second row I double crochet, so it goes a bit faster. Try and imagine if that was single crochets back and forth. That would have taken even longer. The good thing about this is you do feel you make good progress because it goes so quick, but at the same time, it's rather tedious. Mm, 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 mm. So, what's on your hook? And if you're new to this live, feel free to come in and say hello to us. We are not that scary at all. We're actually rather nice, if I'd say so. Could also be that you're knitting still. I know that Helle is knitting on a baby sweater. Most importantly, is as long as she's enjoying herself. We only bite if you ask nicely. That's true, Revenant. A kind, gentle, soft bite. A kind and gentle, nice and soft bite. You passed where you frogged, I think. Like you're further than where you frogged back when you had to. Yep, couple more rows. Nice. It's always nice when it goes a bit smooth. Taking a break right now. Oh, well, my hands are telling me that it will eventually get break time, but we don't have that much left of this life. You can see my finger, it's like getting worn here. My shoulder got a twinge, so I'm resting it. Good plan, good plan. My fingers are saying that we slowly need to do something else. Bunch of stitches I need to cast on, but I'm gonna do that tonight, I think. I won't have time to do it tomorrow. And the alternative is, which is an option, is that I bring my ripnet beanie with me instead in the car. But I'd kind of rather not because it's more yarn to keep track of. So I'd rather just, bring the cowl. But it's easy if I don't get to have time to cast on tonight, because I don't know when I'm home from the club tonight. But if I don't have the time to reach to cast on and get a row or two done, then I'm gonna bring the ripnet beanie instead. Easy peasy. But I will definitely bring something with me in the car. Um, because where we're going in Germany, it's gonna be like a 2 hours, 2.5 hours drive. And then I feel, I guess, useful. Plus, I use yarn, right? Like so. Hey, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. We still have yarn left. Luckily, you're probably like halfway, I think, maybe ish. Technically, I need to spin for the single crochets, but I need to enter a double crochet to kind of make it match on the other side. So let's see. We are at 9, almost halfway. Maybe we're gonna cut a little bit short. but it's not going to be much. And I am using a different hook because they wanted to make it in a 4 millimeter. I'm using a 4.5, but I'm also using a different yarn. So I don't know if that's maybe a little bit of a benefit. We shall see. But can I do this in 20 minutes? Is the big question. I don't know. But we are cracking on and on. I still need to sit down and look into the shrug that I want to make. Plus, we also have the vest, and I'm highly debating if I should work on the vest rather than the shrug first because it's shorter meters, shorter yardage, so it's quicker made. Which am I picking first of these two projects? Which is more realistic for me? Susan is optimistic for me. She says, yes, you can make it. I am trying. I'm not sure if we'll reach it fully, though. But if we don't, then I can tell you that what we are missing is so darn close to being finished that I can also put that together off screen and show it to you guys on Wednesday. And I will definitely need a new project for Wednesday because, haha, I don't have this one anymore. And if we are going to crochet, this is my last crochet bib I have on the hook, my friends. Like, there's no more crochet hook bibs on the hooks. How did I manage to get into such position? Normally, I always have a couple of projects running. But in this case, this is my last, which means that I will need to find a new project if that is what I want to. And after all, I am doing crochet. So da, 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 da. There was a bit of an iffy stitch. Well, that's the downside of this yarn. It's not very hardly twined, so just untwist it a bit and it will split very easily. That's really the only real downside of this yarn. It's prone to splitting if it's just slightly untwisted. And I even think they recommend a 5 millimeter, and I'm doing a 4.5. I felt doing a 4 was tight. I do like how this is turning out so far, so I'm kind of okay with that. Mhm. We go back in the single way. We'll flip for the doubles. Yeah, it's definitely short rows. Reminds me a bit about when I learned knitting, like as a child many years ago. I think I got some scrap yarn from my grandmother and I was sick or something. Um, so I got entertained with a pair of knitting needles, and because there wasn't really much TV over there, definitely not at my grandparents. There was no Disney Plus or whatever, whatnot. Um, so I think it was knitting a scarf, but it was probably like 10 stitches wide or 15 stitches wide or something like that. And it was just back and forth, stockinette, but stockinette not as in as a nice stockinette, but more like as a ripped stockinette. Like it's just knitting and then turning and knitting and then turning and then knitting and then turning. And when the yarn ran out, I just added a new color, not really thinking about yarn contents or whatnot. Was rather cute. I don't even know if somebody got it or threw it out or whatever happened, but yeah. But I do remember that I was spending a couple of days, like I think I had the flu and I was knitting in the couch. That is what I remember. I've probably been like 10 years old. So I don't think it's been that much wider than this, but it was a one long, long, long piece. So we still have yarns left, but it's definitely getting less. Maybe it's measure time after we have gotten this one to the end. I don't know. I am starting to doubt if we'll make those 20 inches. But as I said, if I'm short on 19, I'll still be happy. Um, the reason for being short here is probably now the fact that I optioned to make that extra row because I felt I had plenty of yarn. In hindsight, maybe I didn't have as much as I thought I had. Let's first untwine this one a bit. So we do have some length to it. Don't have that much yarn left. So we can still make it a bit longer, but I don't know how many more rows we can squeeze out of it. But let's see. That would be at 0. And you're at like, if we stretch it a bit, 12 and a half. 12 and a half. 12 and a half. Yeah, it will stretch a bit. As I said, we are just gonna go until the end here because this is not 8 inches strap for sure. Like, I doubt it. Or if it is, woohoo, surprise. But I genuinely don't think it is. So what I will do here is I will keep going in this pattern, and then I just need to make sure that I end on a row of ideally double crochets where I have more than enough yarn to weave in the ends and sew it together. So I do need a little bit of extra. I do have one end here which I can help sewing in together with, or sewing it together with, but it's not like, I think it's not enough to rely on that tiny one alone. It's more like a bit of extra. Yeah, it's feeling like yarn chicken. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? I thought I had more than enough yarn, but clearly and I'm quite sure I do not have any more of this sandy color. It's the other I have is gray, which is definitely not sandy. So I don't think I have. Oh, why am I doing it? Because I'm stacking a double. Um, so yeah, I don't know how much I'll have, but it's gonna be multiple inches short. But it's just not gonna hang totally down the side. Then it's gonna be a little bit further up on your shoulder. Ta-ta, which would be fine. 32 for. I need one more. Is what I thought, but sometimes it's better to check. So obviously this row of single goes pretty quick. And it's definitely also not a yarn eater. Well, if you only do single crochets, it's eating yarn enough, but I mean, double crochets does stack it up higher. Dun, dun. But yeah, I do feel like we are playing the game of yarn chicken right now. Most definitely. I also look at the time at the same time so I don't run out of time. Like this. And then we'll do singles again. So yeah, it does go reasonably quick. And we are definitely adding a few more inches to it, but I highly doubt that we get to the 20. Actually, we most definitely won't. That's funny how quickly then goes. You feel you have plenty of yarn in the skein left, and then suddenly it's gone. Good thing is, I will have used up one more skein from my stash in this video. Hello, or in the stream. Ta ta ta. My stash has gotten a skein less. Which I consider rather positive. I'm going to check with my off-white if that is indeed roughly half a skein, just so I can update Ravelry accordingly. Um, it won't count towards the used skeins because I'll still have the label left and so on. Unless I option to stuff it into this scrap pile of yarns. When yarns enter the scrap pile, it's officially no longer in my stash. It's just scrap, which can be used for scrap projects. Um, I could, of course, option for that. Um, but since I think I can get something out of it, I will start by just putting it back into my stash and I can make a decision later down the line. I got a bunch of this yarn last autumn. I also made a short review, which is to be found somewhere on my channel. And that means that I do have a few skeins where I just have that single skein, that single color. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to make from it, but I thought it was a good deal, and I just want to get hold of the yarn to see how it actually looked like. Um, but I also know if I want to keep, let's say, making bags in this recycled cotton, I will definitely need to get more of them. I think we are heading down towards some of the last repeats slowly here. And as we concluded just before, there's definitely not enough yarn to hit those 20 inches. I really don't believe that. That would be insanely optimistic, which I were 10 inches ago. Then the challenge is, of course, when we're done with these doubles, we're going to have a look at this yarn, if that is the end of it or not. But that could very well be that we are very close. Um, the multi-million dollar question is, have I enough to do one round of single and one round of double, and then enough to sew it in? I might. So we're going to play yarn check for 2 rows more, and then we'll find out. But first, we have to unwind this a bit because it's all twisty like that. But I think I'm going to try to see if I can squeeze out one more repeat, which means that I'm going to do 1 row of singles and then 1 row of doubles. And then we should be good to go to sew this together, hopefully. But I can also see on the time that we won't have time to sew it together. So we're just first going to play yarn chicken with this row, these 2 rows, and assess if we have enough yarn to weave in ends and sew it together. And if we don't, I do have a small scrap to help. But if we don't think we do, then it's easy. But I think we will do, looking at this. But I don't know if we can squeeze out more after that. If there's one more repeat in it, not so sure. This one there is. I feel confident now, actually. But I'm not so sure if I'm confident that there is a full repeat more. Maybe. I don't know. Is there? It's not that much yarn, as you can see. That is what's left. Do I want to run that risk? Well, let's see, how long is this one? I may not want to run that risk, but I don't have time to run that risk right now. We are at about 15. I'm just going to put a stitch marker into this stitch, so it's not going to run away. We are stretching. I need to make sure it's not dropping on the ground. And we are at Including stretch, we are at 18 inches. That's pretty okay, actually. That's not far off. That's maybe an inch off. But I won't have time to sew it together in any case because it is 5 p.m., which means that I need to get going to get some dinner made. So what I'm probably gonna do, looking at this yarn, I'm debating if I might just option for the single crochet row and then sew those single crochet rows together on the other end, or if I'll attempt to see if I can squeeze double crochets out of it, but I really don't think I can. But generally, the idea is now for these ends to be joined. So let's, for funsies, at least just join them. It will be like that. Well, a bit shorter, but then we're gonna pop up. Hello, my friends. Technically, we are looking at something like this, which is not too bad. I do think I may want to just squeeze out that single extra row off. But at the same time, looking at it like this, I don't think it's going to matter much if I'll do an extra row of single crochets. So I'll definitely add the single crochets, I think. And then the real question is if I'm going to be able to add double crochets. But friends, that is technically how we are going to be looking more or less. I think it's pretty good. No content in it right now, but then obviously slightly shorter. But yeah, I am. I'm definitely pleased. But we're not going to be able to completely finish it today. But I promise you guys it will be finished on Wednesday. And I will show it to you on Wednesday. Because on Wednesday is when I'm going to be live next time. Until then, I'm going to wish you happy crafting and a great weekend. It is, as said, Friday. I will be live next week, Wednesday, around 2 p.m. Central European Time. So that is around 8 a.m. Eastern for those in the US. And of course, it's in the evening if you're in Australia, quite late, maybe even, depending on where in Australia. And yeah, I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. If you have watched it all the way to here, take care and happy crafting until I see you again. And yeah, see you on Wednesday. Bye.